Hi, my name is Angela Jenkins. I'm a registered nurse and I work in a long-term care facility. I was asked a question of what do you do, and I answered with I'm a registered nurse. Excuse me, but that didn't really explain what I did. So I had something come up at work one day and I started documenting my day, and so I just want to call the story the Blue Socks, and it gives an in-depth look at what a registered nurse does through her day in long-term care. So the story is called The Blue Socks, and just to reassure you that all the names in the story are fictitious. The events are real, but all the names that are used are not. So I was asked the question, what do you do? And I responded with, I am a registered nurse. After walking away, I realized that I stated what my profession was, but I didn't explain what I actually did. So 6:30, I do arrive at my work, and I set up my med cart with all the necessary items, such as ginger ale, Kleenex, spoons, insulin needles, and so forth. And as I'm walking down the hall to report, I have RCWs that work nights coming at and saying, so-and-so was in the wrong incontinent pad size, so-and-so didn't sleep all night, what are you gonna do for them? Someone's medications didn't arrive. So these are 3 concerns that we have right off the bat before I even start my day. So I thought I could probably get 2 residents' meds administered before I start the day, as they are usually awake anyway. Time for report. Is there any new residents' care plans to review with our staff? Any residents' appointments? Who is due for what, such as blood work, weights, blood pressure, or blood glucoses? Oh yes, Henry is due for blood sugar readings, as we started him on metformin, a review of them on metformin last week. Better put him on the doctor's list before I forget, and make out a rec for an A1C check in 3 months. Remind the staff that they have to keep the food diary going for Alice, as she has lost weight this month. Less than 5%, but we still need to monitor it. 7:15, our report is done and we start our day. I get 2 more sets of meds administered. Frank's blood sugar is 6.3, thus I have to hold the short acting according to our protocol. We hold under 7. I have to write that on the list so I can chart it later. There's a bed alarm going off, everybody's busy, so I go into the room to check. The resident hasn't even moved. What is wrong with the bed alarm? I'll have to get that checked out, put that on my list. I get 2 more sets of meds administered, and an RCW approaches regarding someone with a very, very loose BM, we'll say. I refer the RCW to the Bristol stool chart, and I get her to show me what did it look like. And then she does point out on the chart what it does look like, and I tell her, well, this is a normal bowel movement, so this does not require treatment. I do go over the effects of medications with her, that if we did treat this resident, the results that could happen. So it was a good teaching moment for her, and I thought I taught instead of telling. 7:45, breakfast is arriving, and I have 4 more sets of meds administered, and another RCW approaches. Doris does not want to get up. I do recall the resident's medication history. There is no pressing meds for this resident, and she did state on admission that she always liked to sleep in her past. So this is a teaching moment. Then I review the concept of person-centered care, and I ask the RCW, what do you think we should do? Well, we could let her sleep in and we can make her fresh breakfast when she wakes up. I was allowing her to make the decision to empower her for her future decisions she can make on her own. 8 o'clock, a call bell is on, and another resident is calling, nurse, nurse, nurse. I glance at the resident and visually she is okay. I glance in a room at the call bell, where the call bell is going, and the resident is standing without a walker. Anticipatory planning. This person is surviving with Parkinson's and minds the heat and can faint due to occasional orthostatic hypotension. Without looking like I'm rushing, I assist her to a chair, I put the walker in front of her, and I open her window. I need to update her care plan. Put that on my list. The phone is ringing. Lock the card up. Oh, what about the resident calling nurse, nurse, nurse? I go in, can I do anything for you? She states that she is sick and she's not feeling well. I look at her and she's sitting up in her chair and she is eating, and I know she has an extensive mental health history, and she is followed by the mental health team. We did check her out for UTI. She had no symptoms. She wasn't afebrile. She had no sudden delirium. So I did ask her, you know, where are you sick? And that's a weird question to ask her, but it works for her. So she said, I'm dying, is what she told me. So I'm looking at this lady who's sitting straight up in the chair and she's eating, but who am I to say who's dying and who's not? I need to provide reassurance and use my mental health knowledge by acknowledging what she's saying and validating her. But how can I do it right now? I call in an RCW. I ask the RCW to please sit with this resident and provide her with some comfort. I go answer the phone feeling I didn't do everything as an RN, but the RCW that I did call in has a history of being very strong in knowing the importance of attending to psychosocial needs. 8:10, the phone call. A resident's daughter was calling me from over across that her brother was in last night and they couldn't find their mother's blue socks. And her mother gets very cold at night, and these blue socks were very important for her to have at night. And I could hear the helplessness in her voice. She does live out of province, I've reassured her. And as I'm talking on the phone, another RCW is calling me saying that Jane is in pain. I raise my hand to her saying, just one sec. Family's still on the phone telling me about their sick dog, and she just can't make it over to the island today. And she really wants these socks found. I'm trying to actively listen, but now I'm thinking about Jane who's in pain. I explained to her, we will look for them, and if we can't find them, we have lots of new ones that we can provide and give to her mother, and we'll do that today. 8:20, I go and I assess Jane. Do I need to do a full pain assessment according to the standards of long-term care? Because this is new. Her pain turned out to be that her tea was not hot enough, so I heated it. Do I have to chart that? I have to do some teaching to the staff about Maslow's basic needs. Concentrate and continue with the meds. I do have a meeting at 10. 8:30, I'm still administering meds, and I see an RCW giving a resident a drink. Is it thickened? I glance. Yes, it is. He has always held his glass for me. I administer the meds and hand the glass of resource directly to the resident, and he drinks it on his own. I am trying to prevent frailty. I acted surprised and encouraged the RCW to let him try holding the glass himself. And he does it, and then she's very surprised that he could do it on his own. I congratulated her on doing a good job, and reminds me that I need to continue teaching around encouraging the independence of residents. I continue ensuring every med is checked, administered, and signed for. I need to go back to the resident calling nurse, nurse, nurse. I glance in and she is asleep. I let everybody I know in the hallway that I pass that we're looking for these blue socks. About 130 pairs of socks go to the laundry every single day. I don't know how they keep them all straight. I'll have to tell them how much we appreciate them in laundry and then ask for the blue socks. 9 o'clock, Joe was on the floor. I paged the LPN. Joe was laughing sitting beside the bed, and he states, I didn't fall, I just lowered myself to pick something up and I couldn't get back up. He is cognitive, so I do believe him, but it was an unwitnessed fall and occurred according to the long-term clinical standards. We have to do the following: full head-to-toe assessment, incident report, chart for 48 hours, vitals for 48 hours, pain assessment, call the family. No need to call the doctor at this point, but put it on the list because the doctor will have to write a progress note. Update his care plan, update the TLR, update the Cardex, 30-minute checks, but we cannot tell Joe that we're doing 30-minute checks because he thinks we're treating him like a child. He is okay. The phone is ringing, it's the hospital with a critical lab value. Somebody has a high CRP and a low hemoglobin. I write down the value and I go back to my meds. I have to keep concentrating. 9:30, medication administration is done. Where is my list? Prioritize. Everyone ate. The sleepy lady got her breakfast. Just seen the person who questionably fell going by in a zone in his wheelchair. That's good. Hot tea lady is not in pain. Lonely resident is asleep. I have to review a chart. High CRP. Report said he had emesis last night. I wonder what color it was. Afebrile this morning when we started. Check his temp again, 37.4. He needs acetaminophen. Because the elderly's temp, 37.2, we start treatment. He only had fluids for breakfast. He is alert but weak. Full assessment. Do an SBAR in case we send him to the hospital. I have to call the family. Phone call to the doctor and he comes in. History and current status is reviewed. I called the lab to get a copy of the values. CRP and hemoglobin, new orders received, blood work for transfusion, family and resident agree, consent signed, blood drawn and sent, family is worried. There's something wrong, possibly a GI bleed. Let's get the blood transfusion, I tell them, and then we'll go from there and I provide them with reassurance. Reassess his fall risk and TLR and update his Cardex and the care plan and chart. Oh, what did I forget? 10 o'clock, 10:15, I look at the clock. My meeting started 10 minutes ago. I've yet to make it to the bathroom. And then I remembered I had a 10 o'clock med that I missed. So I run down and do that. So that is 3 hours of my shift in the morning. So in the first 3 hours of my day, I feel that after reflection, I was complying with the long-term clinical care standards. I was advocating for a family. I was promoting self-care, preventing frailty, also having the intellectual capacity to filter through information very quickly and pulling out what was relevant to be able to quickly make a decision on the resident who had the low hemoglobin, the high CRP, and knowing when to call the doctor in and preparing the family for possible transfer to hospital. I feel as a registered nurse, I demonstrated leadership at every point of my day that morning with every interaction that I had with everybody, and I was very inclusive with my team and drawing on their strengths as well in education and promoting good teamwork. And so in closing, I just wanted you to understand the purpose of this story. It was to promote registered nurses to continue learning every day and to get more education in whatever field that you're in, and to understand the value of the CNA certification in gerontology or whatever field you may be in, to enhance your care and your knowledge base to have more specific interventions and proper interventions that might be needed at that time. I would also like you to know that as a registered nurse, I do comply with the standards for nursing practice as according to AR and PEI. And just to name a couple for you, I'd like to read to you that you could probably reflect back and see within the story. Responsible accountability, demonstrating being accountable to my residents and the public. Continuing competencies, which is very important to me, just having each nurse demonstrate responsibility for maintaining competence, fitness to practice, and integrating new knowledge and skills in their own areas of practice. And advocacy is huge, especially when we're in with the vulnerable people, such as the geriatric population. I feel advocacy is a very strong one that we really need to comply with. So I'd like to thank you.